When a franchise begins to move with the gravity of a true contender, the sensation is unmistakable. It is the same slow-building intensity that precedes a Super Bowl run, the same heaviness in the air. That broadcasts to the entire league that something is changing within an organization that once drifted between hope and disappointment, but now stands anchored by purpose, resolve, and a clear blueprint for the future. And that is exactly where the Denver Broncos find themselves today. Because this team is no longer merely adjusting to a new era under Sean Payton. They are deliberately shaping it, molding it, and fortifying it with decisions that extend far beyond simple roster management, and instead reveal a methodical long-term strategy that embraces continuity, unity, and the construction of a hardened competitive identity forged in the trenches and reinforced by players who bring not only production, but emotional force to the locker room. And this week that philosophy manifested again in a decision that echoes much louder than the raw numbers of a contract, because it speaks to priorities, vision, and belief as the Broncos executed a major multi-year extension for defensive tackle Malcolm Roach, whose rise from undrafted prospect to foundational piece embodies the very spirit Payton wants coursing through the veins of this organization. Roach secured a 3-year deal worth up to nearly $30 million with a significant guaranteed portion, and while the economic details matter, the symbolism matters more, because this is a franchise choosing to reward a player who embodies resilience, adaptability, leadership, and relentless competitive energy. Even though his path lacked the pedigree and spotlight that often command early investment, the Broncos committed to Roach because he has become part of the emotional framework of their defense, a voice that carries between whistles, a disruptor in the interior, a stabilizing force in moments when momentum shifts, and a standard bearer for physical play that Denver wants to represent at every level of the field. And this extension does not exist in a vacuum. It aligns with an unmistakable pattern, because Denver has spent its bye week in a flurry of purposeful action, locking in with Lutz and Luke Wattenberg before Roach, establishing a broad signal that the organization is building the kind of structure that playoff teams depend on when seasons extend into deep winter months, when fatigue sets in, and when games are defined by execution, discipline, and trust. The Broncos aim to remove uncertainty piece by piece, ensuring the core of their roster remains intact, while the younger foundation surrounding their rookie quarterback matures with each week and each challenge. The philosophical coherence behind these moves is undeniable. Sean Payton believes in the trenches. He believes in continuity on special teams. He believes in offensive line synergy and defensive line ferocity. He believes in voices that guide locker rooms away from chaos toward clarity. And Roach, who began this season on injured reserve, returned with force and made his case with production, effort, and consistency that could not be ignored. And yet the story grows more complex, because this decisive extension naturally generates questions about John Franklin Myers, whose future has become a point of tension and curiosity among fans, analysts, and insiders alike, as the team chooses to secure a rotational interior disruptor before addressing one of its presumed starters. And the timing of this choice reveals layers of possibility. Perhaps negotiations with Franklin Myers remain distant. Perhaps the financial expectations diverge significantly. Or perhaps the rise of Syvian Jones and the internal optimism surrounding Iomi Uwazurike have given the Broncos additional leverage or flexibility that reshapes how they approach their long-term planning. But in every scenario, one truth remains: Roach was secured first because he represents more than depth. He represents culture. His journey from undrafted Texas product to four-year New Orleans grinder to Payton loyalist to Denver stalwart adds meaning and weight to the decision, because it reflects a coach investing in a player who has already proven he can win in the margins, in the film room, in the huddle, and in the emotional rhythm of a game. His production, 2 sacks, 21 tackles, and constant pressure in limited snaps speaks for itself. But his leadership, his communication, and his intensity are the intangible ingredients coaches prize when building a defense that can hold up in cold playoff environments against offensive lines designed to bully their way into January victories. Roach is not a star in the traditional sense, but he is the type of player star-driven teams rely on to maintain balanced structure and reliability on every snap, and this contract secures that type of presence through 2028, solidifying one more pillar of a roster that has undergone dramatic restructuring over the past 2 seasons. The Broncos have committed heavy financial resources to both the offensive and defensive lines, and this approach gains clarity when measured against the broader economic landscape, Because with Bo Nix playing on a rookie deal, Denver has the rare luxury of spending aggressively elsewhere while preparing for the liberation that will arrive when the Russell Wilson contract weight finally lifts from the salary cap in 2026, creating a landscape that allows the franchise to pursue high-impact free agents while retaining internally developed talent. The significance of these moves becomes even more impressive when viewed through the lens of context. This team made the playoffs last season and has already secured 9 wins this year despite absorbing $85 million in dead cap charges, a staggering burden that would drown most franchises in mediocrity. But instead, Denver has climbed forward, defied expectations, and reasserted itself as one of the most resilient, adaptive, and strategically grounded organizations in the league today. And that narrative is a credit to General Manager George Patton, who has spent 2 seasons cleaning up the financial wreckage of the Wilson trade and rebuilding a foundation that once looked fractured and unstable. And it is also a profound testament to Sean Payton and his staff, who have instilled discipline, accountability, and a hardened, competitive mentality into a roster that desperately needed recalibration and direction. And now, as the Broncos continue stacking wins, crafting identity, and solidifying their future, the extension of Malcolm Roach stands as a symbolic and strategic marker of how far they have come and how much further they intend to go, because this team is being built with intention and shaped with precision, and the players now being locked in are the ones who represent that vision with every snap, every rep, and every moment of leadership on and off the field. The Denver Broncos are no longer drifting, they are constructing. And if you want to understand every step of this transformation, every decision, every extension, every shift in trajectory, then join the discussion, add your perspective, and follow this channel, because the evolution of this franchise is far from finished and the story is only becoming more compelling with each passing week.